Yeah. Take two.
Back at it.
Okay, no. Seriously, no, but. How's it, everybody? Welcome to Tuntadun Films' first podcast number 1. Ryan
Hello.
over here. Ryan Basilio. Conrad
How's it?
Lihi
How's
over
it?
here. This is something that we've been wanting to do for a long ass time, just because I know, like, out of all the content creators out of Hawaii, we've kind of been the least transparent. We kind of just make our sketches and then kind of post them and walk away, and don't really even post on our social media as much as I know we should, and communicate with you guys. And I know I want to change that, just and not really use how busy we are as an excuse.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like if you have any suggestions of who you want, to be our guest, or questions, if you want some advice or anything, just let us know, man. We're going to unpackage a lot with this podcast. We've got some great guests
Yeah.
lined up, and we're just going to have more of these conversations. We want to get to know you guys better, and we want you guys to get to know us better. And not many people know that we live up here in LA. And I guess that's like a testament to how we've been able to shoot stuff where people think that we're in Hawaii and we're shooting in Hawaii.
But, you try to make our houses seem like Hawaii.
Yeah.
So we get the feel.
I mean, this is as Hawaii as it gets in terms of being in LA, this house right here.
Yeah. It's the vibe that he's going for.
When we first met, I remember one of the things that we connected on was we're very aware that not many people kind of make it out of Hawaii, let alone get into the creative fields, get into what we do. And I always thought that, like...
Well, you were the first one that I met out here that was working in the industry from Hawaii.
Oh, damn. I didn't know I was the first.
Yeah. I had never met anybody else.
How long were you in LA when we met?
A couple years, maybe.
Damn.
So I was still living downtown at the time. But I wasn't filming anything, really. I was just bartending and trying to work and live.
Yeah.
That's why when we met up and you were able to do all the production stuff, it just worked out perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's nobody else in school or when I first moved up here that I could connect with on the Hawaii basis. That was in the industry too. They wanted to create stuff and tell local stories, especially comedy. It's hard, people come out and they want to be like serious actors. So it's hard to find people to do over the top sketch comedy with costumes and stuff. The first thing we did was the Harlem Shake video. And that had to be like 6 years ago now.
A while ago. I mean, I was living in my apartment off of Pico in Fairfax. So that was like 2013, 2012. So yeah, that was a while ago. And it was the same with me too. Even though I had met a few Hawaii people before I met you, it was something different when we spoke. And I remember us kind of talking to something about it. But the idea of it taking kind of like a certain type of crazy person to leave Hawaii, like the comfort, the family.
Oh, for sure.
And I was driven to meet and collaborate with as many of these crazy ass Hawaiians, under that same mindset. And what I'm always inspired by is that everybody is on the same tip of wanting to represent Hawaii properly and just, fully. And as the years go by, meeting more and more people, that's what kept on bringing me back to, need to start a podcast, because if we could sit down and talk to all these crazy ass Hawaiians who are doing amazing things.
If I had somebody to kind of see their trajectory that they took when they left Hawaii and came here and started trying to work in entertainment, I think it would help. It would have helped a lot. For sure. And just feeling the support and not kind of feeling lost and like figuring out your own way. Like you said, and that's why we do stuff like this, so that more kids from home can see it being accessible, see Los Angeles and the arts and entertainment be a viable career path, even though, like you said, you might be scraping by, but you can live. Like if you love it enough and you want to do it all the time, like you can make it happen. Like the last 3 years, I've like only done creative work, but it's not easy. Like you have to, again, it's one of those things you have to accept and sacrifice. Like I'm gonna have to sacrifice living back home with my family to be doing what I love to do, and hope that one day it gets to the point where you can like go back home and still do it. Because it's hard. So it's definitely a thing we've talked about, is trying to build that bridge for local artists to come out here and feel like they have a community to join that has, a foundation built for them to succeed out here.
Because of course, ideally, you don't want to like stay in Hawaii and be able to do whatever you can, but sometimes you gotta leave.
I think there's so much life experience to be gained living out here,
for sure,
as the cultures are just so different. Like Hawaii is diverse, but we kind of melt into Hawaiian culture, which is everything, or at least different things that we don't experience in Hawaii to experience out here.
Since living up here, I definitely cannot encourage more. I can't encourage enough, I should say, that anybody from Hawaii should at least live outside of Hawaii. At least a year.
Yeah.
Like, year, maybe 2, but at least a year just to gain perspective. Because I think that the perspective that you gain in terms of, even if you move up and you're like, I fucking hate this shit, and you go back, that perspective you gain is how much more, it's so much more love of Hawaii as a whole. And I think it'll wash out all of that petty, like, west side, east side, like all that dividing things that you don't realize how small Hawaii is until you leave. And then it became this conversation of like, okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, you from Waipahu, you from Laie, you from west side.
Oh yeah, out here, everybody cruises. Even though you obviously give everybody shit for. It's funny. I had a friend, haole guy that grew up in Hawaii Kai, and I met him in San Diego, and super cool guy. But I remember having conversations with him of like him being angry that because he was haole and because he was from Hawaii Kai, even though he grew up in Hawaii, local guys be like, bro, you're not local. Like, get out of here. And he was so hurt and angered by it. Like, I felt for him. Yeah. But I'm like, you just gotta let it go, man. Like, who cares? If you think you're local, then you're local. If you're down for the cause, like, then you know, that's who you are. Yeah. Nobody can tell you differently. If you're not, if Ed, it was always hard to like get that into his head. Like, what does it matter? What does it matter what other people think? But yeah, usually once you're in the mainland, you're from Hawaii.
Yeah. And you're just so happy to see somebody else from Hawaii, and you're just like, oh, we all in this together. Yeah. And you bring that back home.
When I was out here, I remember it'd probably been 3 years since I had been back home to Hawaii. I was living in San Diego, and so I was just missing everything. And I was watching TV, and a kickboxing match came on, and one of the fighters was from Hawaii, and it was like in between rounds, and they cut to the corner, and the guy's dad was yelling at him in Pidgin, like, "Bro, what the fuck you doing? Like, you gotta do this. You gotta step and move. Like, fucking watch his right."
He's getting homesick.
And it was like, oh man, it just reminded me of being a kid and my dad yelling at me, like, when I was doing martial arts and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was funny that just hearing Pidgin made me like ache for home.
Yeah, no.
Or remind me of home so much that like you don't realize how much just that accent.
Oh yeah.
Or Pidgin is part of you. until you're kind of disconnected from it for a while. And then all of a sudden, like, you hear it and you're like, oh man, like I speak a different language from how they speak out here.
100%.
You know? And I mean, like, you can soften it up so that, you know, you have a little bit of pidgin. But when you want to turn it on, like when I was in school in San Diego and we was out partying with like all the boys, if we didn't want somebody to understand what we were saying, we would just like start talking super thick pidgin, and people would just stand there like looking at us like he was talking about like a chick or something, or if, you know, if the guy was being stupid or whoever, you just start. It's like anytime you're around people that speak another language, you know, if they're speaking English and then all of a sudden they start speaking their language, like they don't want you to understand what they're saying. I dated a girl once who was Chinese, and her dad spoke English but would never speak like English in front of me. Like, this bastard.
You fucker, what you saying?
You fucker. Like, and then he would speak Spanish to me. And like, he's not Mexican, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
He was just he was just giving me a hard time. I laugh at it now, but when I was younger, I was like, fuck this guy, bro.
It's those little things. Like, I remember I went to college up in Seattle, and my roommate, he was from Hawaii too. He was from Laie. I shout out to Will Kava. How you doing? We were watching Dog the Bounty Hunter, and Dog was on West Side Oahu in Waianae looking for somebody, and he's shaking down this one girl, and I remember thinking like, oh man, this local girl, she's so hood, but she's so beautiful. Like, oh, I miss my Hawaii girls. She's just there, just big t-shirt, barefoot, yelling at Dog. Yeah. Dog's like, where's your cousin? Where's your cousin? And then she's like, I don't know where my cousin stay. And then she gets on the phone, and she's all like, hey, where you stay? Dog stay over here giving me heat. And then I look at my roommate. I'm like, Will, is it weird that like I'm getting turned on right now? Like, I miss this so much.
I love pidgin. It's such a great like language.
Yeah. It's so efficient. And I love how it even changes depending on the part of Hawaii that you're from.
I had one of my friends in San Diego would always call me Oila.
Oila?
Oila. That's on I guess it's a Big Island thing where like if you conceited, you know, oh, this fucker's an Oila, huh? Like he's all greasy with fucking Crisco, you know, slick back hair, and like think he's so cool.
Okay, Oila.
Oila. Yeah. But different islands get different words,
yeah,
different little slang. But he called me that because I was from Big Island, and he was like, what's up, Oila? The first time he said it, I was like, what the fuck are you talking to?
See, and then you miss that, and then when you find other people from Hawaii up here, up on the continent,
like,
it's like, just like
everybody's island is the way people like jab back and forth about football teams and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh, you from Big Island? Or, that was one funny thing I remember when you would meet people from Hawaii in the mainland, and you come across them, and just be like, sup, what? Where you from?
Yeah, always.
And then you would answer, but after you answer, you would say why, like, why you get problem, you know? So you'd be like, oh, where you from? Like, Big Island, why? What you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
Not even, and it's not. I didn't even realize I was saying that until it clicked in my head. Like, it's hilarious the way that we say that because it's just built in alpha male, like challenge me kind of thing. Like, like, why you asking me where I'm from?
What you going to?
Big Island, why?
Like, go right now, take off the shirt.
So it's funny when you step outside of the culture and you realize kind of the things that we do as local guys growing up in Hawaii.
Going back to why we wanted to do the podcast is just like, I think we met some amazing people from Hawaii up here, just musicians and business people and people that like we all could learn a lot of stuff from. Because I mean, growing up back home, like in the back of my mind, I wanted to get into film industry.
Yeah.
You're on an island, you don't know what to do. I remember getting ready to graduate from high school and thinking like, fuck, I'm going to work at the hotel or I'm going to join the military, and that really being the only options.
Yeah. For me,
Yeah.
I wasn't good at math or anything like that. So artistic kind of stuff was music. It was either music or acting.
Yeah.
When I first left, that I knew I was going to do.
And that's not even encouraged in Hawaii, really. Or
Not so much. I mean, yeah, but you know, there's not
a
like,
pathway. There's not anybody that's...
There's definitely not like theater programs
Yeah.
that, or not a lot. I'm sure there's some in some schools, but like for me, when I was a senior, it just so happened that one of the teachers, he wanted to teach like an acting class, and so they offered it to juniors my senior year. And I had to petition them like, hey, this is what I want to do. Like, can I take this class? And so they ended up letting me take it. I got to the class and I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be cool. Like, I'm going to do a bunch of acting stuff. And then the first day, the teacher announces that basically for the whole semester, the whole first semester, that we would be producing like 3 Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf. So
Okay.
so like children's Disney theater,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And so I was sitting there like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Wait, how old are you?
I petitioned to get into this class. I was 16 at the time. I was a senior. It was the start of my senior year.
Damn, you're a senior at 16?
Yeah, well, for 2 months. My birthday's in October,
Okay.
so 16 until
Yeah,
October, and then I was 17. Then I was 17 when I came to college for a couple months. But yeah, so 3 Little Pigs and a Big Bad Wolf, and I was devastated. I was like, I fought to get into this class because I thought it was gonna be cool, and now I'm stuck doing this.
Yeah.
And so I ended up having to play the Big Bad Wolf, and for a semester, and like we rehearsed in the little theater that the school had, and was just fucking super full of anxiety, just waiting for my friends to come in and see me in a fucking wolf costume. Like,
At least you got to play the wolf. Like, I was waiting for you to be like,
yeah,
oh, it's the pig.
fuck, there's no way.
I was in that
There's no way.
straw house.
I would have just started cutting class and like gotten kicked out or something. But yeah, so like pouncing around and basically like Blue's Clues kind of acting. And so luckily we only performed it for the elementary school. But of course, every time we would do the performance, the elementary school would be over on the high school side, but high school would be at lunch. So there's going to be people like walking through and sticking their heads in and stuff. And so a couple times during the performances, I would see like people stick their head in and laugh, and I'd be on stage just like, fuck, scared people are going to see me and give me shit. Or like, oh, it's a Big Bad Wolf.
How are you? How was
it was so over the top kids performance.
Yeah. Was it like a full body costume with the head cut out?
Yeah, pretty much. But it was good because that was one of the first times where I had to let go of my ego and just perform and do that and not give a shit and try to give a good performance, which doing comedy you have to do.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
the characters that you play, you know, when you play the wife or the mom or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you have
to let go of caring about what people think and just do it for the comedy of it and know that it's gonna be funny. So that was like the first time getting pushed out of my comfort zone. But then you come to the mainland and every other day it's like something that's new, some new experience that you got to go through. So you just grow. But one of the memories where I'm like, fuck, this sucks right now. But looking back, it was a good learning experience.
Was that where you got that acting bug?
No, I mean, I've always, since I was a kid, been kind of a character, just acting, doing different things. So it's always been there. But I just knew I wanted to do performance. So by my senior year, it was music and acting. It's like that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to college wherever I can go to, and then try to do music and do acting. And that was the only plan, and that's still the only plan 20 years later.
I'm glad that it still is the only plan. But college was always a part of that
luckily
equation.
for me, yeah, like leaving Hawaii to go to college was always something that was like being pushed to me, you know. I mean, I could have gone to UH or something, that they would have been fine with that too, but there was always, I was, you know, definitely part of that generation where it was like graduate high school, get 4.0, go to university, like get your degree, and then you like start your life.
Did your parents or did your
no,
family
they didn't. I mean, community college, but not university.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, same.
you know, so they took out a bunch of money, and still to this day paying that off.
Oh yeah, fucking student loans, man.
And it's a hard call because a film degree isn't going to get you work over somebody with no film degree.
Yeah.
In this industry. So you're going to school basically to learn the foundations of making movies and stuff.
Yeah.
If you're doing that degree, which worked out for me because now like I'd get a lot of work from video production and video editing. And that allows me the time to like do other stuff. Whereas before, like I was having to go bartend every day, and that takes up, 6-7 hours of your day. Hour drive to get there, but being able to do all those different things is helping me just do creative stuff for work.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to do, man. Definitely get that knowledge up, and that is a beautiful thing in terms of art, creativity, the film industry. You don't need that piece of paper to validate like a lot of other industries, like a medical industry, like
that's any art, whether it's music or
for sure.
Painting. You just got to do it. But to really stand out, you have to like dive in and find your own way and do it, do your own expression of whatever it is you're doing. And that's why there's no right or wrong, and there's no paper that says, oh, you are a painter or you're not a painter, or you are an actor, you're not an actor. Like, you just have to self-assess and, put in the time, put in the work. To me, I think it's one of those things where it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you have to go at it and give it everything in order to really pursue it. You can't just half-ass it and think you're going to be crazy successful doing it. Like, you got to put in work. And I mean, lightning can always strike, and you can, meet the right person at the right time and be in the right place and land a role on something or land a job. But for the most part, it's like you just got to start doing it and put in the time. And like you said, get your knowledge up and know your business, and so you can walk into any room with anybody and feel confident in what you're doing, and like whether that's creative or the technical side, cameras and things like that. The more hours and reps you put in practicing and doing it, the better you're going to be. You just have to love what you're doing, because you're going to sacrifice a lot of things.
At what point do you feel like you fully trusted yourself and committed to like, this is what I'm going to commit my life to?
I think I was 27, so like 10 years ago, when I basically was like, okay, you need to take this seriously and like figure out how you're really going to make a career out of all of this stuff. And that's when I really buckled down with the band. And
which, if you guys don't know, Ryan Basilio and the Roosters, go check them out on Spotify.
Some good reggae. Yeah.
They're the best fucking band that you probably never heard of, to be honest.
Never saw.
It like live, band, it was just so amazing and full.
There's
I was just like, how are you guys?
13 of us on stage sometimes.
You guys got Ryan Basilio and the Roosters. People, go look them up.
Check it out. But yeah, it's stuff like that where you just have to be okay with life and change and how things go. Like, you got to push yourself and get better and better, but you have to be good with like accepting failure, accepting things not working out, changing directions, like going with the flow, because things like that happen. Like, that band was amazing, and then, you know, that time ended, and so you just keep rolling and like you move on and you keep creating. And, you know, it's not to say that something down the road might not happen and we make more music like as that band, but as a creative, you just like, you create and then you let it go and you move on and like you create something else. And that it's just this never ending cycle of trying to manifest like the noise in your head into reality. Like, it's just, that's again the life of an artist, and you have to be good with that. And if you're gonna have a relationship, that other person is going to have to be able to handle that as well. I gave up until I was 32, I guess, when I found Amanda. But before that, it was just, this is what I do. Like, I'm just gonna be the single artist living by the beach, like smoking weed and painting in his garage, you know. But that's it's funny because I remember telling my mom after some breakup that I had, I was like, I'm just doomed to heartbreak because I can then write music about it. So it's super emo, like, oh, I'm sad. But great art comes from great struggle. So whether that's love struggle or physical or economical or whatever, you know, you gotta have those life experiences that you can put into your art form and have people relate to. And that's the ultimate goal, is to be able to put something out there that other people like, man, I love this, or this makes me feel this way. And even that, like, you have no control over how somebody reacts to your artwork either. And so you have to be okay with whatever comes. Like, again, the expression is our piece of the pie, and then their reaction is, you know, a separate piece, but we have no control over that. So there's always gonna be somebody that thinks your work is shit, and like, oh, these guys suck. Or
and then it's good to have that aha moment. And you said you had that at 27.
It wasn't so much aha as like, what am I not doing that I need to do to start progressing?
Was that like a self-evaluation, or was that a conversation you had with like your parents or something?
No, that really was basically like almost 5-year relationship ending, and all of the energy that I was putting into the relationship was free all of a sudden. And so all of that mental space was turned towards creating music. And so that's where it like took off, because instead of going home every night and trying to like make my relationship work, I would get off work and I would go and I would be designing like logos and setting up the CD artwork and planning out the music video, and while I'm like recording the album in the studio. And so I was like, if I'm gonna really do this, I have to make like a packaged product of this music to make it seem like we were bigger than we were. Because at the time, like, YouTube was kind of just getting really big, but if you had music, you had to be on YouTube. And if you had a music video, it wasn't as common as it is now, because not everybody had cameras, not everybody could edit. So it, like, when we first released that first album, it seemed like I tried to make it seem as big as it was, because perception, as you learn if you're trying to, you know, play the online games, social media and stuff, like, perception is everything. So again, all of that energy that was in the relationship went into building that whole presence of logos and videos and flyers and cool posters and stickers and t-shirts. And, you know, then we started to play live, and it kind of just snowballed from there, because like you said, the band was so good that as long as you heard us play live, like,
yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Like, yeah, you'd be like, fuck, these guys are super good. by pinnacle that we were going, we could have banged with any professional band
for sure
in the world in that scene, you know. And that was the biggest moment for me, was opening for Catch a Fire.
Yeah.
And like being backstage and looking at my bass player, my bass player, and being like, you remember when we started the band 5 years ago, and we're sitting in your bedroom and we were talking about music, and I was showing you like bands that I wanted to be like and sound like and were influences of mine. He's like, yeah. And I was like, you remember when I showed you Catch a Fire for the first time? And he's like, yeah, man. I'm like, it's fucking crazy. Like, we're opening for them right now. Like 5 years later, we manifested like this crazy thing, and it was, you know, it was amazing.
Yeah. I remember that night. I was so happy for you, man.
Yeah. Again, you just got to do it. Like, you got to put your head down and work. And that's like what we did. We just played and played and played and played.
Yeah. And it was at the House of Blues Anaheim.
Yeah, that show was.
That was like, to open up for Catch a Fire at that venue. It's a fucking amazing thing. And 5 years isn't that long in the grand scheme of things. But
yeah, I had a good friend of mine that's a musician that says like, it basically takes 5 years to build a band and a following, and to be able to like have it succeed, it's going to take that long. Like, unless you have a lot of money, you know, and you can just put it in front of people, which is what mainstream stuff does. So people are going to listen to what's put in front of them. So if you have a lot of money, you can throw your weight around a little bit easier than having to prove yourself. But yeah, so that's what changed for me, was the relationship ended, and all of my energy went into building the band. And then that was like music wise. And then, you know, most of the acting stuff that I do now is just the Tuntadun sketches. But the painting work that I do happened by my guitarist from the Roosters taught me how to do stencil spray painting. And then I kind of just started to do that quite a bit, doing canvases and stuff. And through social media, started selling a bunch of canvases, and like was making some money doing that. And then I had an opportunity to do like a big mural, and in my mind, like the biggest thing I had ever painted was 4 feet by 6 feet, you know, and this wall was 3 stories tall and 100 feet long. So I was like, fuck, I can't do this. Like, this is insane. Like, I've never painted anything bigger than 4 feet. Like, how am I going to paint this wall? And my girl was like, just do it. Like, just figure it out.
Thanks,
and
babe.
I was like, yeah okay. No. But it was like a lot of money. It was a big job. And so the fear, as usual, would take over and be like, you can't do this. So you're going to fail, and you're going to look ridiculous, and you're never going to like work again and stuff. Which, if it wasn't for my girl, I would have probably talked myself out of it. But she forced me to just jump in and do it, and ended up working out. Happy, you know, it looked amazing, and every job since then has basically been you know, a word of mouth or some kind of connection from that, you know, maybe not direct, but a painting that I painted for another company, like somebody saw and told their friend. So that's, you know, dope. If you don't take that leap, if you don't put yourself out there or release your music, or, you know,
just commit to your craft, like,
you
believe in yourself. Yeah, you gotta.
And like I said, you have to be okay with failure. Yeah. And that was a hard thing for me, and it still is, because if you don't take that risk, the great things are never going to come. For sure. And so that might be big life choices sometimes, and sometimes it might just be like,
big life choices.
You know, can I really give this character my all, even though it might be embarrassing, or you know, can I be the big bad wolf?
Yeah.
Like,
that's,
and not care that
the
fucking mokes in school are gonna be like, oh, what's up, wolf? Like, come blow me, wolf.
Blow me, huh?
Which it's crazy that's the mindset.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't instead of being in the moment of like whatever this I'm doing this instead of math class right now or something.
Yeah.
Like I'm backstage worried that people are gonna see me and make fun of me, you know, for doing some children's play.
And you're doing it for children.
If they tried to say like we was gonna perform this for the high school, like there's no way. Like there's no way. I definitely wouldn't have had the strength of character to like go in front of the high school. But it's weird because I've always, when I got to college and was in the theater department, all of these kids wanted to stand on the steps of the theater department and like recite monologues and do like, you know, work with other actors back and forth and like recite lines and stuff so that everybody walking by could hear. And I've never been that kind of person. And so usually the only time that I really turn it on is when I'm actually like doing a film or something like that. Like because of like social anxiety and stuff, I don't want people looking at me in just a normal setting. So even like when I was with the band and we'd come off a set and we go down to the merch table or whatever, and there's like people coming up and like, oh, you guys are awesome. And like that gives me anxiety, oddly, of like all these people looking at me and just like judging, staring, looking at you. Like, but that's, I mean, shit that I had when I was a kid and when I was in high school and stuff that carries on into your adult life and you just do. But that,
and I think a lot of people are surprised how opposite you are from the Brother Cobra character in that sense.
Yeah, like I mean, Cobra's definitely inside me somewhere.
I think he's
like,
in all of us.
I think we all. I mean, we all have
people relate to it because he's over the top.
Yeah,
but he comes from a very real place of that anger that's in so many.
Where I think everybody. We're all schizophrenic in some way. Like we have different personalities that deal with different situations. And for me, especially when I was younger, like Cobra was my personality that dealt with conflict. And, you know, any kind of anything like that, you know, just wanting to scrap everybody. Like when I first moved to the mainland, and then more so when I met the group of brothers down in San Diego, we just scrap all the time. And so that like alpha male, you know, kind of mentality just hits you and you're Cobra. Like everything bothers you. You're pissed off. Like I gotta go to work. So fuck this guy. Fuck that guy. But I remember one time I was working in a restaurant and one of the busboys, he's like, "Oh, you're from Hawaii?" I was like, "Yeah, why?"
Already off the bat,
you know,
like what?
And he's like, "Why? How come guys from Hawaii, like all they want to do is fight and they're assholes?" I was like, "Wow, what kind of question? What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean?" And he goes on to start explaining this situation that he found himself in. This was like, it happened a year and a half before this moment that I was talking to this guy at this place in San Diego where you could have bonfires, and him and his group of friends were having a bonfire, and he's explaining this night and explaining this situation about how these 3 Hawaiian guys like came over to their bonfire and started fucking with them and like stealing their beer and shit.
Yeah.
And as he's telling the story, in my mind, I'm like, I was there. Like I was definitely there. Like I was at the other bonfire watching like brothers that I was with fuck with these kids because they're like, "Oh, let's go fuck with these Holly guys over here."
Yeah.
And they went over and they like stole their beer and
shit.
kicked shit into their fire and like came back. And so it was hilarious that I got angry at this guy for asking me why Hawaiians are such assholes, and the reason he thinks that, like, I was part of that group that gave him that idea in his head. But it's just that like alpha male mentality that we grew up with like, oh, you know, challenge me, I'm the bull.
Yeah.
You know, I can't. Nobody can disrespect me, and
Yeah. No.
that shit was funny. But that's Brother Cobra. That's
Yeah,
like, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah. I remember up in Seattle, the Hawai'i boys that I cruised with at the very beginning, like undergrad, freshman, sophomore year, was getting into a lot of trouble, and it wasn't until somebody got a gun pulled out on them where it was just kind of like a reassessment of, this is not Hawaii.
Yeah.
Like it's a different thing up here. People don't care about being able to fight or not.
Yeah.
People just pull guns. And
Well, that was the thing that would usually freak everybody out, is if we go to a party or something, it was all local guys. You walk into a party and, you know, it's all kids from here in the mainland, and there's no like bumping chests, like, what, do something. Like, if one of the guys was like, I'm gonna scrap this fool over here, like, it was gonna happen. He was gonna walk up to him and just start fighting. And so we're used to that.
Yeah,
we're used
yeah.
to just scrapping and then
leaving. Yeah.
Whereas out here, you have to worry about somebody running to their car.
Yeah.
And doing something.
Yeah. Where are we at right now? Oh man, we already did an hour.
Wrap it
Man,
up.
so
Lots of stories to
lots
tell.
of stuff to do. I think this was a cool. I mean, this hour went by pretty fast.
It always does.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
just talking story.
The camera went out somewhere between it, so figure something out. But the audio, we
sure-
got it good.
I'm sure we were all over the place too.
Yeah.
That was pretty-
Sorry about it.
I was pretty high when we started talking.
Oh
so
no, I think there's a lot
I'm
of
sure
good
we went
stuff
some
in
tangents. There's some sound bites for sure.
there. Yeah, no, but
Super local philosophical
yeah,
philosophically.
the Hawaiian Confucius. And then yeah. I know we got some Kanakas out there like, well, not everybody Hawaiian, bro. The difference between Hawaiian and Kanaka. We're gonna talk about that later too.
Yeah. History lessons.
Yeah. But no, I think that was a
Cheers,
successful. Cheers. Tuntadun Films.
Tuntadun Films.
Okay.
All right.
Podcast 1. Paul, mahalo for stopping by, you guys. All right.
Aloha.
Gonna go strong, my boots them be on my way. There's nothing you can do, nothing you can say. It's gonna take a long time for find my way to peace and love and happiness forever. I